repeat
We
around
stop
here.
and repeat, but we don't repeat our words.
Thank you.
Hey all you ghoulie pops, and welcome to the Hot Ghouls Club podcast. I'm your host, Jamie.
And with me we have...
Tara.
And Alyssa.
Just as a reminder, as we dive deeper into the second part of LISK, is that when we touch on the subject of Rex Heuermann, everything pertaining to him is alleged, as this is an ongoing case. Again, I would like to give a trigger warning as this episode can get graphic in conversation as we go over the deaths of a few victims and a very brief mentioning of content that was found on a computer in Rex Heuermann's home. The content mentioned can be upsetting to some. Before we go any further, I did realize that I got the order of remains found incorrect in the previous episode, as it was actually Melissa Barthelomew's remains that were found on December 11th, with Maureen Bernard Barnes, who was reported missing first, but was found December 13th, along with Megan Waterman and Amberlynn Costello. So let's get into today's episode, as this is the second part of our LISK coverage. If you haven't listened to the first part of our coverage on the Long Island serial killer, I suggest going back and giving the first episode a listen. But as a quick review, it's where we dove into the disappearance and untimely death of Shannon Gilbert, how the search for her became the canon effect needed for the Suffolk County Police of Long Island, New York to even register there was a serial killer on their hands. Without Shannon, they most likely would have never thought to have taken the canine unit to the area that she was last seen and train, ultimately leading to the dog hitting and uncovering the remains of Melissa Bartholomew. She, along with 3 others, became famously known as the Gilgo 4, and then the continued search for Shannon's body gave way to another 6 sets of remains, until she was finally found in December 2011 after disappearing May of 2010.
Isn't that crazy to think about? That, like, if it wasn't for her, like, those remains could still be there and just, like...
He could still be...
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Are we going to go over, like, when his last kill was, or we don't know?
Truly, they don't know. Like, I think this is something...
Because I wonder how, like, if he was doing it up until he was... If it
Right.
was him. Alleged.
Allegedly. If you think about it, I'm going to touch upon this later, but there's, like, remains that were found that are involved in this case and the uncovering of these remains off Ocean Parkway that were found partially there and partially years ago. I'm talking like 1992, 1996, you know, a decade or so later.
When people do this, it's like a lifelong affliction.
Yeah. And like also the things that I'm going to mention too are the things that are found on his computer.
Right.
Yeah, he's not, whether he did it or not, he's not a good man.
No. Absolutely not. That's something that's not alleged. That's a fact. And I'll go to jail for that. Okay? Lock me up, Mr. Police Baddie. Because the things
Police Baddie?
Yeah.
That's generous.
To the police people?
Yeah.
Oh. It was the 4 girls who were found in place of Shannon that were dubbed the Gilgo 4 that confirmed there was a serial killer operating in Long Island, New York. It was because of these 4 women that investigators were able to tell that there was someone targeting a very specific type of person, thus creating a victim selection pattern as well as an MO, as they were all killed and disposed in similar ways. For example, something that most of these victims have in common is that they were, for the most part, petite women who worked in escorting and used Craigslist or Backpage as a means to sell their services. And when disposed after their murders, they were wrapped in burlap cloth. To pay respect to the Gilgo 4, I'm going to give you guys backstories of who they were outside of their murders and outside of being labeled the Gilgo 4. So, we're going to start with Melissa Bartholomew. She is a victim who was mistaken to be Shannon Gilbert when initially found in December 2010, but it was July 12th, 2009. That was the last time anyone saw Melissa. And July 8th, 4 days earlier that same year, was the last time her mother, Lynn, got to hear her voice.
Oh, that's sad.
I know. Melissa was 24 years old at the time of her disappearance, and she ultimately left behind her mother, Lynn, and her sister, Amanda. She lived in Buffalo, New York, moved to New York City area with her, at the time, boyfriend and long-lasting childhood friend, Marcus.
I remember Marcus.
She had moved there with the intent to get into cosmetology and open a salon. However, it wasn't long after this life move that she got caught up with a man she met through Marcus named Johnny. This was who Melissa said at first to be a salon owner, but we come to find out he's actually a pimp, and Melissa essentially thrown into escorting through meeting him. It's speculated by her family that Marcus had brought Melissa there in the first place to essentially make a deal with Johnny for Melissa, but again, this is speculated, never confirmed. After having the financial issues that comes with getting caught up with a pimp, she decided to split ways with Johnny, but she ended up paying with that decision with broken ribs and getting left for dead in an alleyway. After getting up and running on her own, she was in the Bronx apartment when she told a friend that she got a client and she'd be back tomorrow. But unfortunately, that never happened, and for Melissa, tomorrow never came. Pretty quickly, Melissa's mother and sister caught on to the lack of communication coming from her and decided to try and put in some calls to the police departments in Bronx and file a missing persons report. But when speaking to the department, Lynn was asked if Melissa was sound of mind and if she was on any medications, and then when Lynn confirmed that Melissa had no mental instabilities, she was told that Melissa was where she wanted to be and there was nothing missing persons can do.
I'm so sorry. What the fuck are you talking about?
Right?
The Bronx police officers told her this?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where she wanted to be?
That's where she
What are
went
you
missing. That was the
talking
last known location, so her mom tried to call up and she said wherever she is where she wants to be. She's of sound mind, she's of age. Essentially.
Yeah, she's missing.
So
and we
they
can't
would have
get in touch
spun
with
it
her.
against her, whatever her answer was.
Pretty much, seemingly.
Probably. They would have been like, oh, well, then maybe she's having a psychotic break and you should give her a day. Or
Right.
like maybe she's strung out somewhere, sorry.
Like, no, you're fine. Yeah.
Sort of thing. Fuck.
Yeah, it was definitely, that was not the first time that you're going to hear a story that's, like, similar to that as far as, like, missing persons reports, but a lot of these moms and parents and whoever went to report it were let down.
Our society does not protect women.
No. And then throw in the fact that they're living a high-risk life.
Right.
That, not my words, but,
No, but BS.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Because a police officer is living a high-risk life. Are you not going to go search if you think she's missing?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it just makes me think of, like, how many calls they probably get a day of, like, people that are missing. They're just, like, poo-pooing it. They're like,
Yeah, all of the guidelines around reporting missing
Yeah.
people, I think, is just horrible. And so many things need to be readdressed.
Yeah. And the thing about with Lynn and her putting, like, just this one, like, call in to try and file a missing report, it's not the first time that she did it, or it's not the last time, I should say.
Okay.
So she had tried to file a missing persons report for Lynn a couple times, and ultimately she just kept getting turned away, and she ended up having to get her fiance at the time to call a guy to put in a favor in order for anything to get done. And even then it was an unofficial health check. But you know what?
God.
It actually confirmed that she had not been home in some days. But again, it was not taken seriously as it was come to light that Melissa was an escort.
Wow.
It wasn't until about a week later that things changed when Melissa's sister Amanda was getting phone calls from Melissa's cell phone. But after answering, Amanda was met with a man's voice being at the other side. And he ended up taunting her and her family. It wasn't the first or last time that he calls her, so he does make a few phone calls after that to Amanda. But as all things come and go, the phone calls do stop coming, and Melissa's family had nothing to go on. And they stopped getting any further updates on Melissa until she was found 17 months later, December 11th, 2010.
Wow.
Now we're going to go over Maureen Bernard Barnes. She was 25 years old, a single mother of two living in Connecticut. She was last seen by her sister Melissa on July 9th, 2007.
Wait, isn't her name Melissa? No, it's Maureen. I'm so sorry.
Maureen. But her sister Melissa.
Jesus, like, what's in all the M's?
Can I tell you how many times I thought that, like, during this whole entire thing? I was like, this is, like...
Like, he targets women with the M name.
Like, is that a thing? Like, what's happening
I
here?
thought that until the Jessica Taylor. Was that her name? No, like, the M's really...
But, like, yeah, for the Gilgo 4, that's, like...
Weird.
3 is, like, excessive.
It's excessive, for sure.
She was last seen by her sister Melissa on July 9th, 2007, but had made one last phone call to her long-standing friend Sarah after that. Maureen grew up in a harder side of town where a lot of the residents had all felt the struggles of the day-to-day cost of living. Maureen was in high school when she got pregnant with her first child and ended up leaving the school system to get married to her boyfriend and find an income to try and support her now growing family. The relationship with her new husband only lasted a few years, and they ended up calling it quits, turning Maureen into a single mom. She tried her hand at a few different jobs, but without having a degree and much work experience, the job she was landing wasn't cutting her being able to support her little growing family. This brought Maureen to end up one night going through Craigslist, presumably looking for a job involving modeling, and she came across an escorting listing. She saw what the listings were going for and knew that it was enough for her to have for what she needed to support her and her child. During her time escorting, Maureen found the location of New York City to be more favorable in terms of higher paying jobs, being able to a place where she knew her odds of being recognized was lessened significantly.
Right.
After being in that lifestyle, Maureen found herself pregnant with her second child. She then took a step, which I didn't find clarification if it was like a child through like the trade or if it was like, you know,
a relationship outside of that.
exactly.
Right. It definitely wasn't her ex-husband, right?
No, I don't believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
So she then took a step back from escorting to try her hand again at the on the books jobs, but once more found herself struggling to keep up with the financial demands that having a family in a house comes with.
Right.
So Melissa quickly found herself back in debt and on the verge of getting evicted from her home, but she knew that if she jumped back into escorting to do a few more jobs, she could once again get herself out of the financial hole that she was in. At the time she was making the once more decision, she was also filling out regular 9-to-5 jobs. So she was doing that in hopes that she would find one day a job that could take her out of this line of work forever. It wasn't something that she always wanted to be in.
Right.
Where am I? So actually about 3 weeks after that fact is when Maureen went missing.
Oh.
It took her family a couple days to even come to terms that she had actually gone missing, and once they did, they went all out for her. They filed a missing persons report, but of course they were also told that they needed to kind of accept it as a runaway case. And
A mother.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but they said no, that's not her, that's not Maureen, and they took it upon themselves to go down to New York City from Connecticut. And just look hand and foot there. And while they were there, they passed out flyers. They also were using the flyers to ask people if they had seen her, but something that they didn't take account for was how cold a place the city could be and how out of touch within their community the residents that lived there were. So they were left to have to return home without any further knowledge of what happened to Maureen, and than they had when they had first started looking for her in the city.
So were they able to file a missing persons report in the city for her?
I think they all actually had to place it at their hometown, like not in the city, not on Long Island where they went missing.
Not, right.
Like in their states.
Where they were not last seen.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then after that, another 2 weeks go by, and now Maureen's friend Sarah gets a phone call from an unknown man asking her if she knew Marie. And Marie is actually Maureen's cover name for when she was out escorting.
Wow.
He then...
Such a horrible person.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, the taunting?
It's sick.
It's absolutely foul.
It's sick.
So then he actually gave a brief description of Maureen along with a key description of a tattoo that she had on her arm. And this perked up Sarah's ears because the only other person that would know that would be somebody that got close to her.
Right.
So then in response, after hearing the description, she goes to him and she says, Maureen's actually been missing, or Marie has been missing for 2 weeks. Like, have you seen her? Do you know what's going on? Like, can you give me any information, anything at all? And he goes, oh, well, she's fine. She's in a whorehouse in Queens. After that, the phone call, there wasn't any other further news on what happened to Maureen until 4 years later when her skeletal remains were found at Oak Beach.
Horrible.
This brings us now to Megan Waterman. She was 22 years old at the time of her disappearance and death, and she had gone missing June 6th of 2010, 6 months before her body was found in December that same year. Megan lived the furthest away than the other girls. She lived in Maine, and she lived there with her 4-year-old daughter and family. Megan had grown up with her grandmother after her mother had lost custody of her mother's alcoholism. And she had also grown up having a hard time dealing with her own anger issues. That's Megan. Or that's speculated that a lot of that had to do with the environment that she was in. And her anger issues and those type of temperaments actually transferred with her into her teenage years. As a way to get out of the house and let loose, Megan and her friend would dress up and go out to the bars. And they would do that to meet older men. It's amongst these type of men that Megan met somebody that she ends up falling in love with, but as the story goes, he quickly turns into being her pimp and would have Megan post ads about her services on Craigslist. Keeping her residence in Maine, Megan's boyfriend and her would go back to New York, where her boyfriend is from, and do listings on Long Island to get more money than they could in Maine. When they did this, they would make trips out of it and stay there usually longer than 1 day at a time, meaning stay in Long Island. So early June, Megan and her boyfriend went down to New York and they rented a hotel room where they usually do in-calls in Hauppauge, Long Island. The night she went missing, her boyfriend left Megan in a hotel, and this is when Megan went to the booking she got on Craigslist for an out call. So she left her hotel room alone and was never seen again. Pretty quickly, Megan's mother called into a precinct in Long Island to file missing persons for Megan and was told by Long Island law enforcement that she couldn't file for Megan where she went missing, but the state she was living in. So when Lorraine went to do that, the Maine PD actually took it very seriously and immediately filed the paperwork needed to get the missing person reports in. So after that, Lorraine and Megan's family were left in silence on what happened to Megan until her remains were found in December. So now we have the last of the Gilgo Four, Amber Lynn Costello. Amber was 27 years old during her disappearance and death. She was last seen December 2nd, 2010. However, Amber wasn't actually ever reported missing. She left behind her sister Kim, who lived a similar lifestyle to Amber and their father. Now this is crazy. So Amber grew up in a very normal sort of family setting with her sister and her mother and father. Mm-hmm. But there was one moment in her very younger years that is speculated to have been the pivoting factor to what happened to the Costello family. And it was that moment that imploded who that family was at their core and why the two girls in the family ended up selling themselves on Craigslist and living that selected lifestyle. It was at some point in her childhood, Amber actually became a victim of a sexual assault done by the hands of one of the men that lived in her own neighborhood. After finding out what happened to her other daughter, Amber's father lost all sense of himself. He started to rely on alcohol and dealing with the guilt of what happened to his daughter. And from that, he actually ended up in jail because of his actions while he was heavily intoxicated. During his jail time, Amber's mother had to raise Amber and her sister essentially as a single mother while also turning to alcohol to try and get through the guilt of what happened to Amber. And it's actually because of the alcoholism that her mother passes, because she gets so heavy into it.
Yeah, it's so sad.
After the death of her mother, Amber's father soon becomes someone her and her sister couldn't rely on. With the passing, he once again becomes not sound of mind, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So then Amber and her sister find that they had to rely on themselves. They had to get through life, and Kim ended up at first being the person that started dancing to make money. Amber saw how much money she was making, and she followed suit swiftly after. For them, that quickly evolved to escorting to make even more money.
Mm-hmm.
So at a certain point, Amber tried to get out of that lifestyle. She did end up moving to Florida to get sober, and that's where she found religion.
Yes,
and she found a husband. But while she was there, unfortunately, she fell back into drugs, and her life there completely fell apart, pushing her to go back to Long Island, where her sister was.
Poor girl.
Yeah.
It was at the time of Amber's disappearance that she lived with two other people in a house in Babylon, Long Island, but every one of them had a very strong substance addiction. Amber had tried more than a few times to try and kick her drug habit, and it was always self-motivated and executed, but unfortunately with the people she always kept close, there was always a gateway back into substance abuse and back into that lifestyle of escorting. Amber and her roommates actually create a ruse together where she would only do in-calls, and this would be where the clients would go to her location. When the clients finally got there, and right before the sexual acts would start, Amber would actually collect the money that she was supposed to get, and her roommates would then pop out, threaten the supposed client, and the clients would leave.
They would pretend to be like a jealous, like boyfriend, right, or something.
Yeah. A lot of like the jealousy acts.
Scam those men.
Sure did.
Queen.
When she could.
No judgment.
No, that was probably one of the. I mean, unfortunately, to feed the substance abuse, that was probably one of the better times that she would have within that little cycle of
but
life.
still, scam those men.
Yeah, scam. The day she went missing is the day she actually gave in and took an out call.
Oh.
I say this because according to Amber's roommate, she had taken multiple calls that day from the same person to do an out call. She ultimately accepted after trying to be adamant that she only participated in calls. She said yes that day for what was said to be a higher than normal price, and that was the last time she was seen that September until her remains were found 3 months later.
Wow.
Following the news of Amber's death, Kim, Amber's sister, found it difficult to live life without knowing who that was that murdered Amber. After the initial find and investigations of the bodies, you could see the momentum start to slow down, and there were becoming far and few updates of what happened to Amber and the girls. So after Kim had taken a hiatus from escorting, to participate in helping to find Shannon and sparked the investigation to LISK. She became obsessed with figuring out who it was that killed her sister, and said that she believed him to still be operating out there, and that she ultimately decided to get back into escorting with the determination to try and be face to face with her sister's killer. It was after these 4 women were found in December that Spoda, the Suffolk County police chief at the time, decided to put a pause on the search for Shannon until the weather permitted, claiming the dogs can't work in the inclement weather. Once given the green light, but the Suffolk County Police Department went back to the Oak Beach where they left off and started to keep east, which landed them onto yet another set of remains belonging to 20-year-old Jessica Taylor on March 29th, 2011. The interesting thing about when they were able to find these set of remains is that they were actually incomplete. So after the search, their database, they ended up getting a hit for a match of another set of remains that were found in Manorville, which is less than 2 minutes from where we're recording right now, 6 years earlier.
Right. So, I guess that's like a question I have. Is that, you know, he wrapped some of them in burlap, right? Like some of them, but then some of them he started like dismembering, and they're not all killed the same, which is just interesting.
I do touch on.
Oh, you do? Okay,
slightly.
sorry.
Okay.
Getting ahead of myself.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
Smart.
Stop it.
But that's good. Yeah, you caught that.
Yeah.
So the other set of Jessica's remains were actually found back in July of 2003, days after she originally disappeared.
Oh, okay.
So although police did find more remains, they still haven't found Shannon, and this kept the search alive of the area. And in early April 2011, yet another 3 separate sets of remains were found, bringing the total so far to 7 different victims.
Wow.
The other 3 victims were found were Valerie Mack. She was 24 years old when she was also a partial set found both in Oak Beach and Manorville. She had gone missing around spring, summer of 2000, and partially found fall of 2000. There's also John Doe, known as Asian Male, whom police say worked as a cross-dresser escort based off of the clothing they were found with, and that they had died 5 to 10 years before they were found in April of 2000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not that all the victims of LISK haven't been tragic, but the next 2 I talk about have invoked such strong emotions for me every time I think about it. It's these 2 victims in particular that showcase how truly deranged a person LISK is, and whoever it is really truly needs their reckoning. It's because one of the 3 victims found, April 4th, 2011, was that of a 2-year-old toddler. A part of her mother was found 1 week later, miles apart from her. The mother of the toddler was given the nickname Peaches because of a tattoo that she had, and as it turned out, Peaches had already been partially found over a decade earlier in 1997 in Hempstead Lake State Park. Peaches wasn't the only one with such an extended timeline for being partially found, as the last victim that was added to the list, making it now 10 victims in total, was Karen Vergata. She was 34 years old and found 7 miles west of Gilgo Beach off Ocean Parkway, and was connected through the DNA database to remains found April 20th, 1996 in Davis Park on Fire Island. She left behind twins and her father, who had tried to file a missing persons report for her, but was told he couldn't because of her age. He passed 2 years ago before being able to see her body positively identified, and his daughter's supposed killer in jail.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, that one really got me too.
Oh.
Just as an honorable mention, though police do not believe the cases to be connected, there was also a dismemberment to a victim known as Sugar Bear. Sugar's full name was Andre Jamal Isaac. Their head was found from an ice skater where it was frozen in ice in Center Merchants Pond in January of 2003. But the rest of the remains were found in 2004 by a landscaper in the Merchants area. The date of their death was ruled to have happened 2 years prior, when they originally went missing in 2002. Sugar was known to have been a transgendered person who would perform regularly in the New York City area, and they were only 25 years old at the time of their death. So where does all this information put us so far? Well, we know that LISK has been operating for at least 14 years based off of the time of when Peach's torso was found.
Okay.
That the serial killer has refined who they kill, and by this I mean that in the case of Jessica Taylor, Peaches, and Karen, We know that the remains were dismembered and dispersed into different areas from Long Island in locations like Manorville, Fire Island, West Hampstead. But after these known older cases, the bodies were no longer being dismembered and are then disposed of wrapped in burlap cloth.
Sorry, wait. So older cases, he's dismembering them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Newer ones, he's not.
Yes.
Right. He got tired.
It could be like the mess of it all. So like you're leaving so much more room for error.
Yeah. True.
By just doing that.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I know they said that like his family was always out of town.
Oh, right.
Like while he was conducting these killings, but who knows for how long.
Yeah.
Right.
Like maybe it was week vacations that they were going on. Like maybe there were some 3-day vacations. And also he could have gotten tired, or he could have like been afraid that he had to tell, and he was trying to, I don't necessarily want to give him that credit, but trying to deflect from himself with the police, or just switch it up to make it not seem like it's all one person.
Yeah.
Right.
If it was all truly him.
That
I
makes
know,
sense.
yeah. I think with this case, I don't think it's over. I think that...
You think more bodies will be found?
I think
Absolutely.
Well, that could be more bodies could be found if he decides to do a plea case, maybe. In the long run, right now he's pleading not guilty for every single one that he's charged with right now. Every single death or murder. So after these known older cases, the bodies were no longer being dismembered and are then disposed of wrapped in burlap cloth. We also see the body type of the target get refined to women of smaller frames as well. It was because of these variables and how the victims were found that made law enforcement question whether or not there was 2 operating serial killers on the island or only 1. It's here that the bodies being found off Ocean Parkway finally come to a stop. However, the investigation on who the serial killer identity was just getting started. But the real question, though, was just how motivated was the Suffolk County Police Department into finding the serial killer. The police chief and very beginning of the discovery of LISK was Tom Spoda. He was chief from 2002 to 2011. So when these girls were being found and identified as escorts, that list seemed to have a victim selection of a group that was, at the time, widely seen as people that knowingly lived a high-risk lifestyle. One could argue just how hard a soon-to-be retiree would work in solving that case. Then it was Burke. So Burke was chief of police for Suffolk County for only 3 years, though, for 2012 to 2015. He was someone that essentially grew up around law enforcement with his own wild story of how he actually got here. And it was while he was in middle school that one of the key persons involved in a murder conviction of a 13-year-old John Pewis. Pewis was a schoolmate and a neighbor that was murdered by beating and strangulation. The police had persons of interest, and they were known to be a bullying group of boys. Burke claims that he overheard them boasting about the fact that they had stolen a motorbike and that this kid saw them, and in order to keep him quiet, ultimately the group of boys decided to beat and shove rocks down this boy's throat, ultimately killing John Pewis.
Oh my
Wait,
fucking
is that what
God.
really happened?
No, it's like real life, dude. Like, it's a effed up story.
Are they all dead? Did they go to jail, or were they like too young?
I think they went to jail. They were convicted.
Horrible.
I'm disgusted.
What is wrong with this
Actually, I
woman?
didn't look up if they're still in jail, but like, they went to jail because they were convicted.
Did
Good.
John Burke grow up in Long Island?
Yeah, he did. I think this was in Smithtown.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Suffolk boy.
But it was actually along with his testimony that 4 boys landed the conviction. What the peculiar thing, though, you guys, about this case was that the prosecutor of the case is Thomas Spoda, meaning that his aim was to find the defendant guilty, and essentially his ticket to do so was James Burke. So some can argue that it was made from this moment in Burke's life that made him destined to serve in the Suffolk County Police Precinct's office. There's a reason why also so many conspiracy theories and even charges were placed against Spoda and Burke. But one of the big things here is that John Pewis, he grew up on the same street as a convicted serial rapist. Like, as a sexual, sex offender, was on that same street, and his name was Robert Burke, with no relation to James Burke.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. And he was overlooked completely.
Wow. I'm like shocked about this death. This is just like so.
Yeah.
Smithtown.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
It was very, 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 very sad. So now, during the time of when Burke was in office, it was still pivotal time with trying to solve the case of Gilgo 4. But it was what Burke and Spoda did and that was what no one saw coming. That they had actively refused the assistance of the FBI in resolving this case.
I want to say something. Wait, sorry.
Yeah.
So, it was Burke or Spoda who denied it?
Both of them. Both of them together.
Together, but who was the police chief at the time?
The police chief at the time was Spoda, and then it
Spoda.
continued throughout all of Burke's.
Yes.
I just feel
while he was in office.
like one of the
under
most
his reign.
amazing things you could do as the police chief is to catch a serial killer in your
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe they thought they couldn't, so they didn't even want to try. But
And yeah, so it leaves us with that, or you're clearly trying to cover something up that you don't want the FBI finding at any point during the case.
Exactly.
whether it's directly related to the case or not.
Right.
Like, do not
Alleged.
call me Albert Einstein. However, if I was somebody of some sort of IQ, I would say, "Oh, you're refusing FBI help because."
I can't believe they can refuse.
Right.
It's just like, why
That's
would you not
weird.
want that added help that FBI can bring?
People are dying on your soil.
Yeah.
Bring in all the resources.
Get
that
the men
you
out of
can.
the trenches, John.
Truly.
True.
Suspicious.
Honestly. It was from that time that Burke was in office with the assistance of the district attorney at Spoda. They were both able to smother the assistance of the help from the FBI, essentially from 2010 to 2015, going throughout both their reigns as police chiefs. And the reason behind them refusing FBI assistance is actually wildly speculated. Now, if you didn't catch that, Burke was only acting police chief from 2012 to 2015. That's only 3 years, and it's because he actually resigned early as he was about to be charged with a beating from a man while he was handcuffed.
Right.
And the issue with that was that himself and Spoda were some of the main acting members in covering that up. Sweep the dust under the rug there.
Wow.
And just as a side note, too, there's a podcast called Unraveled where they cover LISK and go into detail about this part of Burke's life and how it affected LISK. So I'll give them a listen.
Yeah. He's a real fucking creep. Go have a listen.
Because it's like
Disgusting.
M. Night Shyamalan up in that man's life choices.
Wow.
You wouldn't think a police chief, but I mean, never mind. So it was once 2015 comes and Burks finally leaves the PD. Tim Siney or Sini?
How do you spell it?
S-I-N-I.
Sinai. No, I'm just kidding.
Sinai.
Sinai? No, because that would be
Sinai?
an A. Sinai.
Alright, Tim,
Sini.
your last name's Sinai for here.
Tim S.
You're welcome. It's actually him that becomes chief of police for Suffolk County, but the big problem that Sinai actually comes across this time as police chief was that the detectives and other positions were not being so agreeable with his decisions, meaning that when he would suggest an avenue to venture towards, especially with the lead detective on the Gilgo case, Sinai would be met with a lot of pushback from detectives. So while in office for the next 6 years, he was able to make some headway while keeping the focus to the phone records, and this actually ends up paying off, and that makes the suspect pool for LISK go from 1,250 people all the way down to 200 people.
Wow.
So during his time in office, Sinai also puts out evidence that was found at one of the crime scenes too, seeking the public's help with identifying any connection that they may have, and it's with a belt. The key identifying factor with the belt being that it was monogrammed with either an HM or a WH. But during that time, there was no known hits down the belt, and the case goes quiet from the public eye again. It was once Rodney Harrison becomes appointed commissioner and Ray Tierney selected district attorney back in 2001 that we start to see leaps and bounds in making headway for the Gilgo 4. It was then, just 1 year later, February 2022, that Harrison and Tierney create the Gilgo Beach Homicide Task Force, and once assembled it took the team 1 month to start looking into Rex Heuermann. So during the time that they were investigating him, they were comparing his phone records and looking into his trash to obtain DNA to compare against DNA found at the crime scenes. And
Rex dumb bitch Heuermann.
finally, this motherfucker Rex Heuermann, and
What'd
I
he
stand
do?
on business, he was charged with the murders of Melissa Bartholomew Amberlynn Costello, Megan Waterman in July of 2023. Get him, boys, get him.
He was only charged with 3 deaths?
Yeah, in the beginning.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. We talked about
Yeah.
this. Oh, duh.
Yeah. So once incarcerated, though, the investigation to Rex Heuermann didn't stop because in January 2004, finally, Rex Heuermann gets the additional murder charge for the last of the Gilgo 4 Maureen Bernard Barnes. And then in June of 2024, he's charged with 2 more murders, that of Jessica Taylor and Sandra Costello. And Costello was actually previously believed to be a victim of former Manorville resident and convicted murderer John Bittrolf. Bittrolf was actually also a suspect to be LISK because of the similarities between his killings and that of LISK's. She was found in North Sea, Southampton on Long Island by hunters.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Do you guys remember where you were when you found out Rex Heuermann was charged? I don't
At
remember
work.
where it was, but I do remember it like being very like, what?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one.
I was in shock because
Yes.
we've been hearing about LISK forever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got yelled at by a coworker in 2010 for going to Gilgo Beach in December
Mm-hmm.
as bodies were being found, and I didn't know.
Rightfully so.
Right, I mean, just a little one in the morning
but
drive.
you didn't know that the bodies were being found?
I didn't
or
know
you
I had no idea there was an active investigation.
Stop.
Yeah, so we just like drove
Girl.
there in the middle of the night, like from college.
Why'd
like,
you go
we just-
there?
We just had nothing to do, and a few of us were from Long Island, so we were like, let's just drive to Long Island for the night. And we go there, we park. I had actually never really been to Jones Beach before because I'm more
Wow.
like I'm not sure. I'm sure you guys don't go to Jones Beach a lot either.
No,
I
It's
don't.
really
Yeah,
far
yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we literally drove into Gilgo, like parking lot or something.
Wow.
That's like literally.
But it
being
was
the case.
as scary as that is. It was much after he was dumping.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So,
true.
They
But
were
it's
just
still wild,
discovering
though.
them. But I do remember just always, I've listened to so many podcasts about this. Like, it's, you know, our own Long Island serial killer. I personally never felt, I was in college while bodies were being found, so I didn't feel very scared. Also,
Yeah.
we are not, you know, in that line of work. We're not
Yeah.
necessarily the target.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is still scary to have around you. But I don't remember having any hysteria or anything. I think you guys had a different experience, or no?
Hysteria as far as like women being found.
found in bodies.
Yeah, no,
and your
I
parents
definitely
getting
know it.
scared.
It's. I mean, also like at that time I was like 18, so like I was very unbothered by like.
Right.
Right.
You know, I thought I was
You're
on top
so
of the
removed for
world.
it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was like, I just want to get like drunk and party every single night and live
Yeah,
my
duh.
best life.
I just remember them, like, body parts being found in Manorville Hills, which is...
Well, yeah, that was definitely that rang a little bit scary
Yes.
during the time because that we were younger then.
Yes.
But that was the talk of every grade, of
Yes.
every adult, of every. No matter where you're going, was talking about the bodies being found in Manorville.
And
So you
that
couldn't get
was-
away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Not in my school.
And it's weird because you're right by us, too.
Yeah, I don't recall that. So, I was very skeptical when they charged Rex. Were you guys? I was very skeptical.
No,
because of
actually.
the police like involvement in it, and
What do
I was like worried they were just like they had found their scapegoat because I just felt a
Oh.
lot of the evidence was circumstantial in the beginning. Like it
Yeah.
was his truck was identified, and his truck was identified, or like he had the same truck that was identified. I think that was like all they were going off of, and the fact that the person worked in New York City and lived in Massapequa Park. That's
Yeah.
like thousands of people.
Yeah.
Like minimum.
Ooh.
So I was very skeptical because I was always very skeptical that the police had so much involvement in it
Yeah.
and that they were just covering it up. But as, you know, things have come about, I also am going to see the trial through. Like, I want to see,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
because I want to see what he's charged with. I want to see,
Yeah.
like, the hard evidence. From my understanding, there was a piece of hair that was found on the crime, at one of the
Mhm.
crime scenes that tied him, it was his hair,
Yeah.
right? That tied him to the crime? Because I've also heard
I
it
think
was
there
his
was-
wife's hair or
so-
his daughter's hair.
One did belong to Rex and the other one did belong to the wife.
The wife.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's how
okay.
they tied him to it.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, they took a pizza crust that he threw away in the city.
Yep.
To tie that DNA to a piece of his hair. They had been surveilling him.
Mm-hmm.
I think they also had evidence that he was buying burner phones, and things like that. So listen, I'm very much not necessarily like innocent until proven guilty, but I do feel that hard evidence most of the time needs to be involved for me to feel
Yeah.
comfortable with somebody being
But
put
also,
away
like,
for
you're
life.
only seeing what they're willing to put out into the media,
Well, and that's why I
right?
want to see
You
the
know?
trial because then you see so much more.
Oh
too.
my gosh, yeah. I feel like that's gonna be.
And his wife is divorcing.
But he's expecting, yeah. But although she still stands by that he doesn't think that he's somebody that could commit these kind of heinous
she
murders.
does. She
stands
him for funsies.
For funsies. Well, I guess there's a catch-22. Like, do you really want to believe that the person that you fell in love with, that you married to and you're with, is like this serial murderer of like all these women and like has been like this known focal point within your own community? Or like, alright, so on top of that, following the arrest of Rex, as viewers, we saw that police entered the home of the Huerman family to literally turn over every single piece of furniture to get all the information that they could find while there. Not only did they find an entire weapons vault in the basement, but they actually located a computer. And this is where the search history and the saved documents held some of the most incriminating topics on there. From his seemingly obsessive searches of the Gilgo Beach murderers, who their family was, and he searched for them, every single one, as well as a collection of torture pornography and things of that nature that I won't get into. November 2024, the time of this episode, we still await trial for Rex Huerman against these 6 victims, whom he's pled not guilty against all 6 charges. And the next time he's expected in court, I believe to be is December of 2024.
Yeah, I think another court date was pushed, and now it's December.
Yeah.
But it might just...
Because there was one in October, but then...
But I don't think it's a court case.
No, it's not. It's like another hearing of sorts. So I'm interested to see if that...
jury and...
Could that come up more bodies being attached to it? Like, is he going to get charged with more deaths? You know,
or just more charges on the bodies he has? Because obviously there's murder, but then there's also like you get charged with tampering with like a dead body, also tampering with evidence. You know, like crossing state lines potentially, or whatever. It's, you know what I mean. So there's so many more things they can hit him with too, just to like pack it on. But I'm very interested to see how this plays out. Yeah. If he ever does confess, that would be interesting to see if more victims come up.
I hope he does, and I hope it's because one of the things is that he's been killing essentially since 1992. Wow. So at least, and we saw a chunk of these girls killed in this one time period, and as far as like MOs go, it's very rare that you see a serial killing of this nature stop such an extended amount of time, and then all of a sudden you get this whole buildup of like these girls being found all around the same.
Yes, it typically doesn't happen like that. It's an escalation. It's been happening for years. It's very rare for a killer to stop for a long period of time.
And I think that's why they're going to be going. We're not going. I can see this not being just a Long Island hearing. I could see this going to where he has the property in South Carolina, where he has been known to visit in Las Vegas for extended amount of times. I could see these places and
that's a red flag already.
Sorry, any city. No, thank you.
No, I'm not a city person.
Shout out if you go to the city or live there. Love that for you. Couldn't be me.
Couldn't.
But yeah, I think we're gonna end up seeing a lot more to this case, and we have seen as Long Island residents, we've seen that they come out of the woods in our area with body bags, or like with what looks to be body bags. We can't confirm.
Yeah, they're always finding bodies on Long Island. Like whether it was him or not. Unfortunately, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Especially in these Manorville Hills, like we are so, like we're called like the Pine Barrens because we have so many protected areas of just woods that.
There's nature reserves.
Thank you. Nature reserves.
So many parks.
So many.
Like so many walking trails. So many protected areas. Is there anything else for
circling back? So,
okay. So we're still obviously waiting to hear the conclusion of the trial and to see the evidence that the Suffolk County Police and the prosecutor and such have put together to prosecute Rex. Yes.
Did they pick a jury yet?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Imagine one of us got on that fucking jury case.
I literally have never heard of this in my life.
I don't even know what's happening. I don't know what's going on.
That's why I'm saying I don't know if it would be on Long Island. It probably definitely won't be in Suffolk. It would probably be in Nassau or the city. Maybe Nassau. Because they can't get in.
No.
Where was Thomas Valva's case? Here?
Oh, fuck that guy. Yeah, yes, it was Suffolk County. Oh, wait, no.
I don't think they did it in Suffolk.
Was it the city?
Where did they do that?
Nassau? Because it's such a high profile case.
Right.
Yeah.
You can get people who are unbiased, of course. You can get people who've never heard of it. That's just like there's hundreds of thousands of millions of fucking people. But we will definitely do an update to let you guys know how the trial went. If you don't yourself keep keep yourself updated.
Yeah.
But Jamie did a phenomenal job on our first case.
Yes, thank you.
Claps for Jamie.
I truly I try my hardest and my darnest to try and get as much information as I could out there and stay true to the case itself. But geez, I loved every second of it. I feel like this is going to be a super fun ride for us to keep riding.
Yeah, no, that was great. You did an amazing job. Very informative.
Yes.
Very respectful to the victims. Fuck Rex. And fuck all those creepy cops.
Yeah. 100%.
We don't like that.
Not around these parts. No, ma'am. Keep that to yourself. Also, Tara's actually going to be... She will be doing her own story soon. So
she will.
We'll be figuring that out along the way.
But
we'll find her. Once we find her. Once we hand her notice that her car's warranty has been expired, we're trying to get in contact with her.
Once she's, it'll be fun. It'll be something.
Yeah.
We'll see what comes up.
So you guys aren't stuck with my voice this whole entire...
You'll hear mine.
That'll be a nice change up. So, with that, thank you guys for listening. This was the second episode. It was super fun. And like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed it too. Catch you guys in the shadows and stay ghouly!
Bye!